Randolph Scott, the stoic cowboy of classic westerns, carried more than just a six-shooter. He held quiet truths about old Hollywood's hidden lives. Behind the camera, he witnessed the silent struggles of gay actors forced to mask their identities. Hollywood's glittering surface concealed secrets of those who lived in fear of being exposed. Scott's empathy for their pain remains a poignant reminder of fame's personal cost. Born George Randolph Scott on January 23, 1898, in Orange County, Virginia, he became a revered figure in American cinema. Known for his stoic demeanor and rugged charm, Scott embodied the noble cowboy archetype, symbolizing justice and resilience. Raised in Charlotte, North Carolina, Scott came from a distinguished Southern family, with his father working as a CPA and his mother instilling values of discipline and manners. Randolph Scott's youth was characterized by athletic prowess, academic dedication, and a profound sense of duty. He attended the Georgia Institute of Technology before transferring to the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, where his passion for drama blossomed. His service as an artillery observer during World War I, stationed in France, shaped the quiet strength and resilience he would later bring to his screen roles. After the war, Scott set his sights on Hollywood, moving to Los Angeles in the late 1920s to pursue a career in film. Thanks to family connections, Scott was introduced to aviation and film mogul Howard Hughes, which paved the way for his first roles in silent films. His striking appearance, marked by a square jaw, athletic build, and calm demeanor, immediately caught the attention of casting directors. By the early 1930s, Scott was securing larger roles, with standout performances in The Last of the Mohicans, 1936, and Rebecca of Sunnybrook Farm, 1938. However, it was his work in the Western genre that would define his lasting legacy. In the 1940s and 1950s, Randolph Scott became synonymous with the American Western, starring in over 100 films, with more than 60 of them being Westerns. He became known for portraying the quiet, moral cowboy figure, a role that resonated deeply with audiences. His collaborations with director Bud Boetiker and screenwriter Burt Kennedy in the 1950s resulted in a series of minimalist masterpieces, including 7 Men from Now, 1956, The Tall T, 1957, Ride Lonesome, 1959, and Comanche Station, 1960. These films, known as the Renown Cycle, showcased Scott's ability to convey depth and stoicism with minimal dialogue. Scott's performances stood in stark contrast to the more theatrical style of contemporaries like John Wayne. His characters were defined by integrity, restraint, and emotional depth, and they conveyed strength not through grand gestures but through silent resolve and a strong moral compass. Outside of acting, Scott also demonstrated a sharp business sense, investing in oil and real estate, which enabled him to retire comfortably after his final film, Ride the High Country, 1962. This film marked a poignant and reflective conclusion to his career. Throughout his life, Scott remained admired in Hollywood for his professionalism, generosity, and dedication to his craft. Though he never received an Academy Award, his contributions to American cinema, particularly the Western genre, are deeply respected. Icons like Clint Eastwood, Martin Scorsese, and Quentin Tarantino have acknowledged his influence, praising his ability to portray emotional nuance without excessive dialogue. Scott's legacy as a pioneer in redefining the Western hero is enduring, emphasizing inner conflict and a personal code over spectacle. Randolph Scott's personal life mirrored the calm and composure that defined his on-screen persona. He was married twice, but preferred to keep his relationships out of the spotlight. His first marriage, in 1936, was to Marion DuPont, a wealthy heiress from the prominent DuPont family. Marion's lineage traced back to the founder of the DuPont chemical empire, Eleuthère Irénée Dupont. Before marrying Scott, Marion had been married to Virginia horse breeder George Somerville, and Scott had even served as best man at their wedding. The transition from friendship to romance between Marion and Scott remains somewhat enigmatic, but their marriage lasted only 3 years, ending in 1939 due to incompatible lifestyles. They had no children, but Marion kept the Scott surname for the rest of her life, possibly out of lingering affection or respect. Scott found lasting companionship with actress Patricia Stillman, whom he married in 1944. Patricia, who briefly pursued a career in film, chose to step away from the industry to focus on their family life. The couple adopted 2 children, Sandra and Christopher, in 1950, though they never publicly discussed their decision to adopt. Their choice to prioritize family over fame reflected their shared values of privacy, stability, and authenticity. By the mid-1950s, Scott began stepping back from his acting career to spend more time with his family in Beverly Hills. During Hollywood's golden age, Randolph Scott became synonymous with the image of stoic masculinity, especially through his iconic roles in westerns. His characters, often silent and steadfast, embodied a quiet strength that resonated deeply with audiences. However, beneath this on-screen persona, Scott was acutely aware of the societal pressures of the era, particularly the constraints placed on individuals who could not live openly due to the rigid expectations of Hollywood and society at large. In his later years, Scott reflected on the struggles faced by some of his Hollywood contemporaries, notably his close friend Cary Grant. Scott and Grant shared a close bond in the 1930s and early 1940s, living together in Santa Monica. Though both men eventually married women, their deep friendship endured despite the scrutiny they faced. Scott privately acknowledged the emotional toll of maintaining such a bond in the public eye, recognizing the difficulties of living authentically during an era when being openly gay was impossible for many in Hollywood. Scott also expressed empathy for Montgomery Clift, an actor known for his emotionally intense roles. Though Clift's sexuality was never publicly acknowledged, it was widely known within Hollywood circles. After a devastating car accident in 1956, which left him disfigured, Clift's personal pain and struggles deepened. Scott, who was a friend to Clift, was deeply sympathetic toward his turmoil, both emotional and professional, as Clift's pain was compounded by the pressures of public life and the constraints of the time. Merv Griffin, another figure who came into Scott's life, also faced Hollywood's harsh glare. Though Griffin cultivated a charming public persona, he guarded his private life fiercely, never confirming the persistent rumors about his sexuality. Scott admired Griffin's ability to navigate fame with precision, acknowledging the emotional and professional risks of maintaining secrecy. Scott's awareness of Hollywood's pressures extended to others like Jim Nabors, Cesar Romero, and Rock Hudson. Nabors, despite being beloved for his role in Gomer Pyle, had to preserve a heterosexual image at the peak of his fame, reflecting the damaging consequences of Hollywood's rumor mill. Romero, best known as the Joker in the Batman series, maintained a public image as a ladies' man, while his homosexuality was known privately within the industry. Scott admired Romero's dignity in navigating this challenge. Finally, Rock Hudson's tragic story became the most poignant in Scott's reflections. Hudson, a leading man known for his romantic roles, kept his homosexuality hidden until his diagnosis with AIDS in the 1980s. His death in 1985 marked a turning point in public understanding of AIDS and the struggles faced by closeted men in Hollywood. Randolph Scott passed away on March 2, 1987, at the age of 89, leaving behind a legacy that transcended his film roles. Though he stepped away from public life, his tribute to his peers, Cary Grant, Montgomery Clift, Merv Griffin, Jim Nabors, Cesar Romero, and Rock Hudson, was not one of gossip, but of quiet solidarity for those who had lived in silence. Scott's final resting place in Elmwood Cemetery, Charlotte, North Carolina, was symbolic of his return to his roots, and it remains a quiet tribute for those who admire his legacy. However, Randolph Scott's legacy lives on through more than memory and screen roles. Upon his death, his personal archive, known as the Randolph Scott Papers, was donated to UCLA Library Special Collections. This extensive collection includes photographs, scrapbooks, letters, handwritten notes, articles, and even blueprints of his Beverly Hills residence. These documents offer a rare and intimate view into Scott's life, capturing his journey from a young man in North Carolina to a revered film icon. Through these archives, Randolph Scott's voice and vision endure, offering future generations a deeper understanding of the thoughtful, dignified man behind the screen legend. Thanks for watching.